Hi, welcome to Talking in Stations. This is WhoisAfish, and today we're going to be bringing you 4 content creators, well, 5, but coming from one team. We have Mommasaurus Rex from Get. We have Captain Benzie with the Cat Skull Cartel. We have CrazySwede, and we have OP4S Gaming with Lord Apollo, and Doomsy. So welcome. We're going to be introducing them, and today we're going to be talking about some of the content they're going to be creating for Eve Echoes, what got them involved, and just kind of get to ask your questions and see how you can join the community. Creating for Eve Echoes. So welcome everyone. How you guys doing? And just kind of get to ask your questions and see how you can.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
So welcome everyone.
Hanging in there.
How you guys
Thank
doing?
you.
Awesome. So does anybody want to give us a little overview about yourself? Captain Benzie, why don't we start with you?
Sure thing, and thank you very much for having me on here. So, ahoy, I'm Captain Benzie. I make content for YouTube based on Eve Echoes, everything from ship fitting guides to getting started tutorials and just having crazy fun out there as well. During both the OBT and the final test, I've covered everything from getting started as a Minmatar pilot up to how missiles work, looking at the different things like the Macariel and any other ship in between that I can just get my crazy little hands on.
Awesome. Minmatar, the best race. Just saying.
In Rust we trust.
Of course. CrazySwede, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your content and how you got involved with Echoes.
Absolutely, Fish, and thank you for having me. So, CrazySwede. I am a variety Twitch streamer who is also going to start producing videos for YouTube in the form of highlights, PvP videos, fitting guides, stuff like that. Basically, I'm an old Eve player from back in the day. Been playing 18 years now since Eve Beta, and been in Eve Echo since the Alpha. Just recently started streaming, so I haven't really done much. I streamed from the final test that we just had, but I will continue to be streaming full time as I've been invited to be part of the content creation team by Netties.
Definitely cool. And after we've introduced the rest of the guests, I want to come back to the point, since you were a player who's actually played the Eve Online beta, and compare a little bit to what the differences are from the Eve Echoes beta. So we'll love to come back to that point. So Mommasaurus Rex from Get, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Mommasaurus Rex. This is probably my first and only time ever to appear on video. So I don't typically do a lot of video content creation like CrazySwede does with his terrific videos, but I do head up a content creation team for our group, and we do everything from videos for our regular streamers, and then we go to, gosh, we've even put out newspapers, right? Old school newspapers that you can get that good Times feel from, just to give people a laugh. One of the things that we want to do is to create content that isn't just, watch us blow something up. While that's fun and good content, we also want to give people a laugh, something amusing and fun to read and sort of enjoyable. So that's what you hopefully will be seeing from us as we transition from one game to the other into Eve Echoes.
I love it. The news kind of paper styles is always a really cool one. We'll definitely kind of come back to the different styles of type of content creation, because I do think there's a lot more of a variety that people realize. You don't just always have to make specific videos for one channel or the other. There's there's just a lot of opportunity in various forms of content. So it'll be really fun to see all the artists bring those to life. And now, last but not least, we've got OP4S Gaming. Apollo, Lord Apollo, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello all, thank you for having me on here. This is actually, like it's my first and probably only time I'm going to be in front of the camera. I am the Corp CEO of OP4S NA, the North American Corps for actual OP4S or Opposing Force. I am also the moderator of Doomsy's Twitch stream, OP4S Gaming. He does a lot of the regular streams and everything, and I help moderate making sure people know that we have a Discord, they can join our community. And I'm also one of the people on Eve Echo's team up that is spreading a lot of our recruitment channels with new propaganda. But we are falling a little behind on the propaganda scene since Get showed up. But like CrazySwede,
Sorry,
I'm
not
also
sorry.
but like CrazySwede, I am also an E-veteran. I did 10 years from 2006 to 2016 and got into Eve Echoes when I heard that NetEase and CCP teamed up. Missed the alpha, but got into the open beta. And I'm coming from Second Galaxy and Nova Empire.
Nice. Yep, definitely seems like a lot of our content creators have come from other games or have had experience in other games. So really interesting. Will be fun to see how all of that political drama from the previous game affects us going forward. And now we see O'Doomsy. O'Doomsy gives your speech.
Hello, I'm O'Doomsy. If anyone's watched the stream, you already know me, so I won't go into the Twitch stuff. I play games. I played the original EVE Online. I didn't go back as far as the beta, unfortunately. I missed that. I was a little bit too young. I played from 2005 and up. And I played Industrialist, I played a Miner, I played Fighter, Fleet Commander, Corp CEO, you name it. I still play EVE. I'm actually playing EVE right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we'll be creating content with that as well. But coming into Eve Echoes was just natural because I started a long time ago. My computer had a little snafu, so I moved away from computer gaming, PC gaming for a little while, and I got into Second Galaxy. I got into Rise of Kingdoms and a bunch of other mobile titles. But Second Galaxy kept me around for just long enough for me to see the Eve Echoes beta come around, and then I dropped a Second Galaxy, and now I'm prepping for that. So I don't think we'll be doing content in the way that Get will be doing, because theirs is pretty unique. But we'll be doing some mining and some PvP, maybe a little propaganda, get off our lawn, making fun of them.
Nice. Seems like we already have a little bit of content here itself brewing in the midst. Now, can you guys confirm, was OP4S the first alliance to form in Eve Echoes? Because I believe from my experience or from my involvement in the game, I thought OP4S was the first alliance to form.
To my knowledge, we were the first to form officially. I don't know if, behind the curtains, people had ideas going on, but as far as I know, we were the first ones who were like, as soon as this game comes out, we will be a thing, because we were forming before the fall.
That's awesome. How has your team changed, or how's the alliance changed since we've gone through various betas and various tests?
Drastically. At first, we were under the impression that we were just going to be an Eve Echoes thing only. We built the Discord around Eve Echoes. We built our website around Eve Echoes. We built our bots around Eve Echoes. And then as people joined, people were just kind of anxious to get the name and get the title out there. And next thing we knew, we had people wearing OP4S and World of Tanks. Any other strategy game known to man, any other MMO known to man. There was Hunt Showdown, EFT, Call of Duty, you name it, Destiny 2, people wanted to wear the tag. So we ended up expanding the server into a whole bunch of different games, and then we just exploded. We went from 650 members, and now we're nearing to, I think, 1,600 members in it. Just a massive number of titles, and now we're rebuilding our website, and we're working with our developers to build different bots, authentication services, and support services for all the other games as well.
So that's kind of something unique in terms of the content creation you're making. It seems like you started out as one kind of project and now it's evolved into its own community, its own gaming team. Do you guys think there's any professional gaming in your future?
Yes, we've already partnered with Military Veteran Gaming Charity, and we are already exploring the avenues of opening a team.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, that'll be exciting. I personally am going to be sticking with Echoes. I'm kind of a all-in type of gal, so... but I would love to see some type of competitive style commentating on Echoes. I imagine that there will be a variety of different things that come there, but the competitive side of gaming is always something that's fascinated me. Now, who else here has been playing other games and plans to continue building their community around just various games? Captain Benzie. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
That would be me. So yeah, I started making content back in the day for a game called Command and Conquer Rivals, and some viewers may be hissing through their teeth at how dare I be, that game that ripped apart Command and Conquer, and it's a mobile game made by EA, and it was actually a really damn solid game with a fantastic community around it, a development team that was incredibly passionate and supportive, and I had a lot of fun doing that, a lot of support directly from them. Grew my community basically off that, moved into another game called Armajet, which is a 2D side-scrolling arena shooter, kind of if you imagine Contra had a baby with Quake or Unreal Tournament, and then they strapped a jetpack onto it. And other than that as well, I've just kind of covered games left, right, and centre. Anything that I've enjoyed mobile gaming, I tend to put up a video for it, whether it's things like Dead by Daylight Mobile, or even just silly little one-off titles like Hungry Dragon that you can just play on the get-go. So I've kind of had a bit of a community built up around that. The guys have really exploded for Eve Echoes, obviously because I've spent a long time building up a channel trying to find the best of mobile gaming, avoiding pay to win, microtransactions done right, that kind of thing. And Eve Echoes just encapsulates all of that perfectly. So they've really latched onto that, but we do still have a lot of people playing games like Armajet, Brawl Stars, CNC Rivals, Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG, Dead by Daylight, you name it, we've got tons of it going on. So I will still be dabbling in content like that from time to time, though my main focus undoubtedly will be on the Catskull Cartel and on Eve Echoes at large.
That's awesome to hear. Now, I remember in a previous stream we had, I featured you, and you had talked a lot about the monetization method of Eve Echoes. So for anyone who doesn't know, can you give us a brief overview of what the monetization model is so they kind of understand why this is more attractive versus the traditional kind of pay to win we see?
The model that's in place.
Of course. Well, a
you're
lot
asking
of
him.
mobile games use if you've got points, make them as well. Go for it, Odumsy. Go for it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. On my side, you disconnected, and I was like, oh god, I'll help. For the monetization model, if he's not taking it away, they have two different versions, three technically. There's Alpha, Omega, and then the standard Omega, and then the full Omega. The Alpha version, you can get up to tier 7. You cannot get too deep into industry. You can't get too deep into selling things in the market. You're limited in a lot of ways, but it allows you to get your feet wet, taste the game, see if you like it, see if it's worth it, buy in if you do. With that said, no other game does that. Any other game is like, hey, if you want to taste our game, it's free, but if you want to win, you got to pay. And that's where Eve Echoes really shines, is that it's not pay to win, it's not pay to play, it's pay to excel. You can play the game to the limitations of the abilities of an alpha clone and be just fine. If you want to excel at the game, $5 here, $15 there, or just ISK. You can use the in-game currency and purchase a Plex with the in-game currency, which is also another, in my opinion, revolutionary facet of games coming up, taking from older games on PC, is allowing in-game currency to be used to continue your account, which allows you to get more skill points per second, allows you to get into the industry deeper, it allows you full access to skills, it allows you to use bigger, better ships with better modules, more power grids, it allows you access to the full breadth of the game without having to pay, $100 a month just to keep up with the other guy who has his mom's credit card, or he's quit his job and has nothing else to do with his money or something. You don't have to worry about that.
Spending the kids' college fund. Yeah, we definitely
Exactly.
had a few of those in Nova Empire. Now, Mama, you play Second Galaxy, right?
Right. I was going to say I should probably weigh in on this particular topic. This might be one that I know the most about. Because
yeah, I know you Second Galaxy is kind of known to be somewhat pay to win, and there's been some changes or uproar in the community lately. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. And so I think Second Galaxy, if you think of a pay to win game, Second Galaxy is a mortgage your house to win game. And that's really what we've seen over time. And it's been around for about a year now. We've had, and I keep hearing GET as the term around me. GET is my corporation of cranky retirees. And we go out and have fun and shoot things, and we just blow everything up because that's what we do. But actually, my alliance is Genesis, and so in Genesis we're in Second Galaxy right now in one form. We've been in the top 5 alliances for, and really in the top 4 alliances for probably about 7 months or so now. And so we've got a bunch of pilots. We go out and have fun. It's really been a fun group of people, but it's a pay-to-win game, and there's no doubt about that. I think of all the pay-to-win games, SG is really one of them. And a good example of that is right now we have not really had new players in this game for nearly, I'd say, 8 months, 9 months, maybe more. And when the first Echoes beta came out, it decimated our population. So we went from having a really broad mobile player base to everybody popping over to Eve Echoes. And then what we saw is what you typically see in any kind of mobile game. When people stop playing for 2 to 3 days, especially a pay-to-win game, they don't come back. And so we have a bunch of people that are joining us in Eve Echoes, for instance, that never went back to SG after the first beta. So, and I think a lot of people saw that in this game. And now it really is a very small population, right? We can pack 2,000 or 3,000 players in a system, but it's really all of the active 2,000 or 3,000 players that are still dedicated enough to go into war and do that.
Do you feel kind of like you're trapped almost there? Because you're established as a leader and you're interested in this other game. Do you feel kind of like the payment system has trapped you a bit?
Oh, hugely. And I'm a whale, right? I have been across multiple accounts, like each account would be. And what I do with that is I take that money, and I can afford to do it. So what I do is I take that money and I put it into my corporation. And then I build capital ships in my retirement corporation. And then I give those capital ships to my pilots who can no longer afford to play. And so they can take the capital ships that I'm paying for a building, and we can go blow stuff up and have fun. But it's really pinned us in a big way to where anyone who's left is having to spend more and more and more money. And they've put in a new mechanic just this morning that has created no more damage caps on towers if you don't have new active players. But no one has new active players. They haven't had it for 9 months. So now we have over half of the galaxy. I swear to God, they put in a system that allows us to see how dead the game is. So when you open the map, over half the galaxy is now vulnerable. And that happened this morning. And so what that tells us is there's not enough activity left to support the game.
And that can definitely hinder that's something that makes sandbox games so rich. And I think that's kind of one of the important highlights to discuss about content creators is content creators help propel those stories. I feel like any company can make a great game with amazing graphics, but one of the things that really helps set them stand apart is their community. Now, CrazySwede, I know you've been part of the EVE Online community for such a long time. And it sounds like, from what I experienced with Nova Empire and Mama, you in Second Galaxy, and a plethora of other players experiencing the same thing. Does Eve Echoes feel like it's got a longer term future? Because EVE Online's been around since 2003. Is Eve Echoes going to have a long future? Because that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to invest a year, 2 years, and then be trapped, because I also felt trapped in Nova. I felt like you're a leader of a team, but it's like, man, I just can't stand these mechanics. These updates are literally just devastating. I just want to hear kind of your opinions on the beta from EVE Online and the differences between EVE Echoes, and if you think this is going to be something we need to make sure we are clear about as a community to ensure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So the quick answer is yes, I do believe that it has a good potential to be a very long-lasting game, especially for a mobile platform. Much of it based on the monetization model because of how much it allows for free-to-play players, and also the ability to unlock the entire game for $5 a month. And that's nothing. That's not for mobile games, not for PC games that run monthly. So it has all the potential there, and NetEase and CCP have the experience to make a game that can do so. Now, looking back at Eve Beta, I was actually looking for the acceptance email yesterday to see if I could still find it from 2002. The thing about the beta was, compared to Eve Echoes, it was empty. It had barely no content, and that continued sort of to the start of Eve Online. Eve Online actually had a fairly slow start because of a lack of content, and because players did not realize the potential that that game had, the freedom to create anything you wanted. A true sandbox was dreamed of, but it wasn't actually something that had been around before. And I think it took a good year and a half, if not 2 years, before people truly realized the potential and started building the foundation of what became EVE Online, which has allowed that game to continue on for 17 years now, which is an incredible amount of time considering it's still a fairly niche game. I mean, let's face it, spreadsheets in space. That's the thing, right? So Eve Echoes has a lot of the heritage from EVE Online, but there's so much more content from the start. And it's important to realize that there are certain problems that come with having this much content, all of these things in, because they haven't had a proper balancing for what's been changed in the system to adapt it for a mobile game. And this is a lot of the issues that we've been seeing in the beta, a lot of the things that we have. Not going too deeply into Yan Jung ships at this point. For those where no. A big bag of nope. So yeah, I do believe that if handled correctly, and if we as a community look after both the community and the game, I believe that Eve Echoes has the same potential for longevity as EVE Online does.
Interesting. Go ahead, Mama. I want to hear what you have to say.
If I might on that too, I completely agree with the whole point that the content creators and the players themselves are what keeps the game going. I think of the our gal who writes the newspaper, our Gallard Times for SG, after enough feelings of betrayal from the player base, I asked her if she was going to do another one, and she said, well, I would, except if I do one, it's going to be a full-page ad for Eve Echoes. And so if that's where your content creators are, that they no longer can bring fun things to the player base, like that is something I'm hoping that the devs here take into account and not fail to support the player base or communicate with the player base in a way that's where people go.
And I do think in terms of monetization, there is a way to monetize a game without completely removing and reducing a strategy. And what we see in these mobile games is they're so short term. The stories stop before they can even start because it just gets monetized so heavily. But with long-term players, I think there's actually a lot more revenue to be had with long-term players, and especially like what you said, these content creators, they really drive it home. They kind of keep you engaged. That's where your team is at. Captain Benzie, give us some of your feedback in terms of these content creators and the devs.
I was about to say I've got a bit of a thing. I just want to jump back very briefly to one thing about mobile gaming. I can hear a lot of the it's usually pay to win or premium. There is a category in the middle that I talk about an awful lot with my community, which is what I refer to as pay to advance, or pay to advance quicker. Games like Brawl Stars or CNC Rivals that do have a cap. You cannot get beyond that cap, so everyone ultimately ends at that cap. Brawl Stars, for example,
like Clash
every
Royale
brawler can reach Clash Royale's a bit of a trickier one because they've pushed that boundary so far out
Yeah.
that getting there without paying is so impossible. Brawl Stars to me is the better example because getting a Brawl at a level 10, one, doesn't actually take that long, and two, it's not important. The difference between a level 10 and a level 8 is literally about 3%. And that means nothing. I literally mean it means nothing. Like, a level 8 versus a level 10, you are still killing them in 3 hits. It doesn't suddenly become 4 hits. The stats don't actually make a difference between being a mid-level and being an upper level. That's a key point. Mobile games, it's getting into a community's head that, one, controversial point, please don't crucify me for this, you're not entitled to games for free. Getting players to understand that you are not entitled is a tricky thing, and it's therefore trying to find a way to get that money out of the player base to support the game. Second Galaxy, from what I hear, obviously, wrong way of doing it. Games like Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, again, wrong way of doing it, because essentially what you've created is a situation where the people who've been playing it for years are now untouchable unless you're willing to drop $10,000 in.
Yeah.
And that's just not a good situation to be in. On the other hand, if you look at games like Armajet, there you've literally got a situation, everything can be unlocked for free. There are certain weapons and that you unlock through gameplay, or you can speed that process up with payments. Now, none of those weapons are more powerful than the basic. The 3 starting weapons are actually most used in tournaments, even with people who have everything. What we're seeing with Eve Echoes, though, is a whole new territory for mobile gaming. It's not pay in order to remain competitive, and it's not a premium game where you have to drop 20-30 quid straight out the door. You've got this situation where, as we've said, you can try everything. At launch, assuming that the market isn't like in the final test, and the market is instead the way the developers said it would be, that it's alpha can only shop at ITC. If it's that, then there is nothing that is locked behind Omega that you are going to need in literally the first 3 to 4 months of playing. It's only once you've been playing the game for 3 to 4 months you're even going to get a benefit really out of Omega beyond certain skill points, or if like us you're advanced players who know exactly what you want to get into straight away. For a brand new player in alpha, you can pretty much sit on alpha for a couple of months, figure out if this is what you want to do, then pay $5 to unlock everything. And again, it's that idea that you don't want to alienate the player base who can't pay, like your college students and
1 second. It seems like the Dark Force, Kasoy, is attacking the stream. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We have successfully defeated the Dark Beast Kasoi. For those of you who don't know, in Eve Echoes, Kasoi is the loading screen of the game, and it typically happens when the game is crashing. So when the Dark Force comes, you know she's going to attack. We welcome back our guests. We'll have to see what the crew says. I don't know if we've got Captain Benzie back.
I don't know. I'm here.
I see a screen, but no camera.
Okay. One
Ahoy.
second.
Can you hear me at all, or am I just gone?
Benzie's overboard.
I hear
We can
audio.
you now. Yeah.
We definitely hear audio. We just see a loading screen. Okay. Well, Benzie is stuck into the warp gate. Something that that CrazySwede mentioned is that while games are coming out, they require some time to balance and test. So I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on that. Just like this stream is having some technical difficulties, there will be technical difficulties when we start a game like Eve Echoes. One of the things I think it's important to do as players of the game is to be a little bit patient and to figure out ways that we can constructively give feedback in a way that the devs can help change the game. Now, Doomsy, you gave me some feedback on Eve Echoes in terms of the corporation features, because I personally believe that these games flourish with the teams that we have. Can you give a little bit of the feedback that you shared with me on Eve Echoes in some senses of what you'd like the devs to know or focus on, and how they can continue to improve the game?
That is a massive list. Game's not bad, so I'll leave it at that. A lot of people will probably watch this to find out if the game is worth playing. Game's great. Game will be great. I can tell from their development style, the path they've chosen, and what they've taken to prioritize before ending the beta. The game's going to have some heights, and I'm excited for that. There are going to be things that I think Eve Online pulled off that need to be transferred to Echoes, such as capital ships, Rourke Wall, industrial mining, massive level, descanning. Descanning is a massive one. Why can't I hunt people? Those are just a few of the things that the game, while it's not broken without it, it would be massively improved with it. And I know some of them they removed because they were trying to declutter the UI. Some of them they removed because they were trying to create a more not Eve Online dedicated like player environment. They're trying to create an environment where someone isn't going to come in and get blapped in the first 25 seconds, and then they're wondering what's going on, and they're confused, and for some reason their cat's on fire and their wife is leaving them. And that's what they're trying to avoid by removing all of the ways in which you can fight people. They're trying to like minimize it to just a few, and that's okay. But I would really like it if Dscan made its way back in.
Do you think that would actually help promote more player-made content?
Absolutely, because as like I was having trouble finding people to fight because I can't fight them in high sec, I can't find them in an anomaly unless I happen upon them by chance. Can't scan them down in a system. There's no wormholes to go scan them down in. There's no probes. There's just a lot of things that I would use normally to find someone to fight or to bait someone to come fight me. Because now they've removed a few key mechanics. They've removed the ability to bait and switch. They've removed Venus trapping. They've removed bumping. They've removed descanning. They've removed hunting. So I can't go to a system with some really juicy stuff and then just start like causing a ruckus trying to get someone to find me and come and gank me. Like a miner, that's what I would usually do, is I would get like a Tengu or a Scorpion, and I would guard an Orca and 3 Hulks, and I would just hang out and just mine somewhere where I know someone runs that system who is not okay with me being there, and I would intentionally mine their ore so that one of their guys would happen upon me and do the same old, hey, where's your mining permit, miner? And then I would uncloak my Tengu or my Scorpion and be like, right here, buddy. I can't do that in Echoes because, A, no one does that yet, which hopefully they will because it'll be hilarious. And B, there's no descanning. So no one can monitor several systems from one spot because they've removed descanning, or at least they haven't implemented it. Well, so I think that if they added that, it would greatly increase PvP content.
Correct
I
me
am
if-
taking notes on how to catch him in the future, though, when they do implement that.
I was gonna say you're talking about no
They said they
controversy
won't.
right now, but it seems like OP4S and Get are already having a little going dancing toe to toe. They're coming. They're coming into your lawn.
We got to create content somehow.
All kinds of ways to create content, and our preferred way is to explosively create content.
So, in terms of that, tell us a little bit about the newspaper you guys have. Who writes it, and what inspired the newspaper, Mama?
Oh well, we have a team that writes it. That team is led up by Kaylin Rawl, Viper. So again, Get is just one corporation, but we have a whole bunch of corporations as part of Genesis, and so one corporation named the Reapers grouped together to create this newspaper. Right? They called it the Gallard Times, and it reports whenever there's, and always tongue in cheek. You know, everything is designed for humor, but you know, we have some big battle. We put, you know, if there's 3,000 players in the system, we'll do a big thing on that and show, you know, all the exploded ships, and make jokes about promoting our coffee makers to lieutenant status, following, you know, all the Chinese time warfare times, because we're all up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do war. And then, you know, sometimes we take big losses, and when we take big losses, they did one beautiful capital ship explosion, and they named the capital ship Lawn Force One to go with the Get theme. But yeah, so just kind of creating a cool thing with a bunch of different highlight pieces, so we can talk about one piece, maybe what we want to see within the game, what kind of change we'd like to see, or even a tongue-in-cheek complaint about another piece of the game that we've had issues or dealing with, kind of making a joke about it, trying to make it a little bit lighter, as well as highlighting various corporations or various political bad guys for us. So, you know, whatever it is that's kind of the topic of the week, and it really got a lot of attention from the very beginning, just because of the creativity and the unusual format for it. And we all did videos and memes and all that stuff. I don't know how much everybody knows about the SG community, but it's a colorful community, and by colorful, it's like it's mostly like there's a ton of trolls in this community, massively. And we've even seen some of that follow us here into Eve Echoes, so it'll be really interesting to see how that works out. But there was always memes and videos and explosions and all that stuff, so we wanted to do something a little bit different. And I am completely worthless on content creation for the most part, but I am lucky enough to have picked up a bunch of really talented pilots and a bunch of really talented people who will be following us as well, as we move into this game. And we'll be in both places, but this is, you know, we have
Kinda
a lot of
putting-
hope for this kind of structure.
You're like moving
Can I-
your foot over into the world of Echoes, kind of stepping over.
Yeah.
Can I just raise a point there regarding the community and the colorfulness of said? Having been around for the start of the EVE Online community, which was at one point known to be extremely toxic, to the point where people would see the community and not want to try the game. And it has since evolved, and it has gotten a lot better over these years. A lot better. There are still elements that people sort of raise their eyebrows at, but also not to the point where they now scare off new players who want to give it a try. At least not at first, until they find the Reddit. Now, we are starting a new community in EVE Echoes, but we have a lot of people coming from EVE Online. We have a lot of people from SG and from other games that have existing communities. And I feel it's important that we nurture our community to not start with that same kind of negative and toxic atmosphere that's been in the other games. And that's a lot of
100%.
that is up to us as content creators.
And on that point, I have to say 100%, 110%. So when we formed Genesis about a little over 7 months ago, it was we'd lost all new players. Our community was so toxic and nasty that, and Doomsy can speak to this, I'm sure too, but it was so toxic and nasty that anyone who popped onto the Facebook would nope out of there in about 10 seconds. And so we started our alliance to call that out, essentially, and that's what we did. Every time we called it out, we tried not to engage in it, and really tried to hammer on what's not okay. And it did help up-level the community, but it was at a point where we had already lost all of our new players, so it was too late to make a difference. So I completely agree with CrazySwede. I think we need to be on top of that from the beginning in this community, so that we set a standard where we can go out and trash talk and have fun and blow up each other's ships, but it's still a fun engagement. And for that too, I wanted to call out OP4S, because in the last day, Get and Genesis, all of us, we got together and went and camped their home station and blew up all their ships, and instead of it being like a nasty troll fest, everyone from OP4S would come out and be like, wait, we've got another ship, and yeah, for the next one, So it was fun, and they popped into our Discord and they were like, that was awesome. We can't wait to see you guys in open. And so that is what we're hoping to have in this community. And absolutely, it's going to take every single one of us to police that amongst ourselves as well.
Now, Benzie, looks like you had a comment to make.
Just a very quick one. It's kind of, there's a flip on that as well. I have to say we did the same. We got our Capsuleer outpost running on that very last night of the beta, and then just literally everyone flew out, took screenshots, and then blew each other up. It was amazing. We did actually have the other side of that though, where there was a particular raiding party who, thanks to certain conditions, shall we say, arising in the final test about things like where warp disruptors and how anomalies worked, ended up with Vindicators, Macariels, and a whole ton of very powerful ships, literally the day that you could have them. Then came down into Minmatar high-sec space and began literally sealing up everyone, and it became a big problem. For me, the Catskill Cartel, 3 times, we had 2-3 hour periods where you couldn't undock. You could not undock from our stations. Our miners were cleared. Every system within like 5 jumps of our station was cleared of all its anomalies, bases reset, everything. And I know of at least 5 other corporations that this same group did that to. So
not it.
No. It was. I'm reluctant to use the term because it's beginning to already get a bit of a status, and people are using it as that phrase already. It was a Chinese corporation, JR, and I'm already wary of people going, Chinese players, rah rah rah. It's like no. There's nothing wrong with Chinese players. There are bad eggs in the English-speaking groups and the French and the German, you name it, they're all over the place. We just happened to get a really nasty Chinese one set up shop in our space. So when it comes to us as content creators, I think there also needs to be a safety net, and we need to have a bit of support for each other as well. Because I can't make tutorials when every ship I go to undock and go, hey, let's have a look at the Stabber Fleet issue. Here's the fittings that we're going to use. Let's undock and take it into, and it's gone.
I think there's definitely a way that content creators can be supportive of one another, and it's kind of important that we maybe define it. One of our members in our chat asked specifically, what would we consider toxic behavior? Because in a game like Eve, you're gonna have war, you're gonna have big. I see. We have Lord Apollo, who has finished his warp, and he has now come back to us. Lord Apollo, tell us a little bit about what you consider toxic behavior versus general shit talk.
All right. So, as most people in the Eve Echoes community know, OP4S kicked out one of our officers before the end of the last beta.
Wait, I didn't know
There was
this. What happened?
basically what happened is one of our officers went onto the Eve Echoes Facebook page that a lot of us are part of and posted this long rant about Get. And our community policy is that we are professionals. Even if we get our asses beat by especially Get or anybody else, we are respectful. We say GG, good fight, and fly safe. But this guy went on a complete tirade of Get and basically brought a bad light to OpForce. So myself, Doomsy, and a few of the other officers reviewed what was going on, and we removed him from OpForce altogether. After that, his toxicity skyrocketed. Every single day there was something about fuck OP4S, or even myself was blasted by him because he said that I was an unfit CEO for the corporation. But that is a prime example of toxicity that shouldn't be in Eve Echoes, but it's going to be in Eve Echoes.
I definitely think too, in terms of shit talking, there can be a line that's drawn too far. I noticed specifically in Nova Empire, like it didn't matter what you submitted to the devs. I had lots of threatening messages. I didn't try to take it too hard. I do think people kind of get really excited that they know how to use the internet for the first time. And it's important to like have a thick skin. Like you gotta have a thick skin. People might shit talk like I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna get your ship. I'm gonna blow up your stuff. Like go cry to your mom, whatever. I think there's gonna be shit talking, but there is the line in the sand that you can draw as too far. So if someone is going personal, attacking your personal pages, attacking you personally as a person, it's like guys, this is a game. It's an ambition simulator. We're all having fun. We're also playing. It's a role play game. There are some people who are playing a role. Mama, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think of it, a really good example from SG. We had a gentleman I know who's even followed us here, who, who thought that it's one thing to blow people up and, all that good stuff and poke fun at each other for, blowing up ships, but he found out that one of our gals is in a wheelchair and took to making fun of her for being disabled and being in a wheelchair and talking about how she should have a disabled placard on the back of her ship and that kind of stuff. Same person took my photographs from Facebook and doctored them to talk about how ugly I am, right? So this is the kind of stuff that we crack down on there, and that person's since been permabanned from that setting, but they're not permabanned in Eve, and so they're all over the Eve Facebook right now, and so that's what I'm hoping that all of us can agree on, regardless of who we blow up and what we do, that we will work together to stomp that stuff out and cooperate with each other as leaders to stomp that out.
100%. I actually had the same exact experience when I played Nova. Pictures doctored, posted all over. Mom saw them. My mom's pretty badass though, so she was like, "Sounds like you kicked some ass," which was awesome. But that's not the case for everybody. And I do think too, in terms of we've got partners and stuff. I had people messaging me to get to my partner, and that's just not cool. Like we're all supposed to be gamers and have fun, but you can play a role, but there is let's not go behind the screen to the point where we feel like attacking some, like if you I don't know, I definitely think there's a big line there, and people know where going down that far down the rabbit hole, like there is definitely kind of a clear, okay, maybe I shouldn't tell someone to kill themselves. That's a definite no. I think we're creating this unique, crazy, chaotic game. There will be salt. People get really upset. You learn a lot about when they lose their ships. That's kind of just just a fact. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have had someone salty in your team because they've lost a ship. I know when I killed Nomix in our last battle, he got a little salty, but you just kind of have to have a little bit of fun with it. Captain CrazySwede, do you think there's any kind of toxic behavior or specific play style that you think we want to kind of curb? Like there's going to be a fine line that we dance because it is an intense game.
Absolutely. And I mean, the just today, I think the Eve Echoes devs updated the community policies on Discord. I would assume they would do so on the Facebook social setting as well, to make it very clear that this kind of behavior is not acceptable, and that's the mods have already started taking effect. Personal attacks of any kind is not okay. This is a game. Yes, people will get salty, absolutely. I think we've all been there at some point, feeling a bit aggravated when something we've worked for a long time has been casually destroyed by someone else. That's part of the game. That's part of the life that we live, and that's not a bad thing because it breeds competition. It's again a bit of content, but you have to find that line, right? A very simple basic rule. Would you say this to your sister or your brother? Yes? No? Right? If not, then maybe you shouldn't say it to whoever is behind the screen. Doesn't matter that they're behind the screen.
Exactly. And one way to, now we know that people aren't always going to follow that. There's always going to be a few bad apples. Ways to combat it: find them in game and politely, quietly just destroy the shit out of their alliance. So someone is, I do think too, we got to hold people responsible in game. If they're just going off the charts, just go destroy their corp. Destroy everything they have. No? Am I the only one here?
If I may.
Agreed for that, and also it's up to leaders to kick it too. And I look at OP4S and what they did with the person who was posting all over Facebook and all that stuff. They just kicked them, and for leaders, the important thing is not to choose pilots over the quality of the community. And so if you've got a bad apple, you've got a bad apple, and it doesn't matter if they've got a nice ship, kick them. And then it creates a standard in the community where if they want to be in one of the big alliances or with one of the big groups, then they have to toe the line, even if they might not necessarily be someone who does that all the time.
Well, and I think this is such a unique community. Like the Eve community is so unique. So we want to attack each other, but we also want to protect each other. And that in terms of, mental health definitely comes first. I mean, personally, I find Eve Echoes to be very therapeutic. There's something awfully therapeutic about just killing someone's minor, but, I'm going to leave it at that. But I do think there is some therapeuticness in these types of games, and it is. I love the way Yinton described it, ambition simulator. You can be what you want, but we aren't going to allow a certain type of person in there, and that is going to be someone who is trying to destroy our community, destroy something we're building, because not only is this going to be an epic community, this community is what's going to help propel Eve Echoes forward into becoming what I consider potentially a historic mobile game. I mean, do we know any other mobile game that's had such a big audience that could potentially last for years? I don't think I can think of anyone. Now, would you guys say there's any rules in terms
Big
of
audience? Yes, we've seen communities that are pretty large for mobile games. Obviously, look at PUBG, but not for years.
I'm sorry, Benzie, can you say that one more time? I think it was a little quiet.
Oh no.
I think we've lost him again.
Captain
What he said
Benzie.
I was
was,
just saying, I think we've had games in the past that are of similar size, if not larger.
Yeah, he's lagging behind again. His internet is acting up. Poor guy.
That's okay. Actually, in case you guys didn't know, one cool thing about Captain Benzie is he does everything from his phone. So he does have a really cool tutorial. If you're thinking about doing content creation, he has a whole tutorial on how he makes his videos from his phone, posts everything, does everything from his phone, which I think is insane. That would drive me crazy. But it does mean it's possible, so that is kind of cool. And in case you're thinking about joining the game, and you want to do some content creation but you don't have a computer, have no fear. Captain Benzie's tutorials are here. I was kind of curious to hear about someone's content creation that was somewhat controversial, because we're talking about dancing a fine line on not being toxic, but there is going to be competition. So what's some kind of controversial content you guys have had or created or seen, and just kind of tell us a little bit about the story around that.
See, I haven't been creating content for that long, so I don't know how much to share in the way of that. As for watching, I think that's very much up to your point of view, what's controversial or not. Some people won't like PvP videos, others won't like mining tutorials, but that doesn't make them, good or bad, if that's the case. And I think any sort of let's call it just bad behavior in content creation tends to get stamped out pretty quickly. Sorry. I think we lost sound.
Okay, I thought we had lost your sound for a second.
Doomsy?
Benzie's dropping links to things that he's made he made a video for what happened to Diablo Immortal, and apparently he got death threats for making content on Rivals. Yeah. For me, I haven't really done content creation for controversial subjects so much as I've been just involved in them, such as the Chappie incident on EVE Online. That was pretty recent. Chappie was a long-term, lifelong EVE Online player, and then he got ill. He got sickly, very terminally ill, and he told his corp, he's like, hey, I'm dedicated to the corp, but I'm gonna die soon. I don't have that much longer. I'm sorry. And he's like, he was apologizing to them because he couldn't stay longer, because he couldn't be alive longer for them, and a lot of people were attacking that, and his corp defended him tooth and nail, and they actually set up a massive event. It was amazing, and
Talking Stations hosted the Chappies event.
Yep.
It was really cool. I'd love to hear stories like that. I think that's the type of community I'm invested in. That's the type of community I want to grow and have wars and kill each other's ships, but become a big part of.
Exactly, and that was what I was going to touch on, is that while we're on the toxicity subject, I'm sure Jen is on the same boat as we are, and that content creators, but generally players, leaders, corporations, alliances, they're all responsible for what happens long term. And if, I'll just say it as a pledge, we'll go with that. If OP4S, if I saw someone doing the things that I was seeing done to Chappie, if I saw someone who was threatening people, who was degrading people, berating people, putting people down on a level that is not okay for a game, I'm coming for you. All of OP4S is coming for you. I'll find your alliance. I'll find you in game, and I'll beat up your alliance over it, and then it'll be done. But that is the kind of policing that I think would be most effective, because there's always going to be those guys who thrive on threatening people. There's always going to be those guys who thrive on posting kill mails of them murdering people in game and making it personal. That's not okay. For people to just post a kill mail and be like, I got this kill, check it out. Cool, awesome. And someone sends a go kill yourself, brush it off. Now if they did it continued, like they were doing with Chappie, but they were threatening this poor guy who was just wanting to be a gamer, a player. He just wanted to have a little bit more time, have a little bit more fun, and people were bashing him. They were actually attacking him, and the entire EVE community banded together and was like, "This is not okay. This is not happening. We'll crush you over it," and they did. That is what I'm trying to foster. because he went out with a bang.
And that, I have to say that too is I mean, Genesis will be right there next to him for that kind of thing, and that was successful for us in SG. We partnered with Red Rum and SG, which have been an amazing group of guys, and just folks generally, and just become family over the last seven or 8 months, which was funny because they started as enemies, right? And part of that was because we had plenty of toxic, crappy targets to stomp on, and so you want to make yourself a target, then all of us need to work together to make sure that we take care of that.
100%. I didn't know you and Red Rum started as enemies.
Well, yes and no. You know, it was my alliance was. It's hard to even say it was my alliance, but I was a leader in Noir, which was pre Genesis, and Noir fractured off from a group who was exactly like that, and we formed Genesis on one side, and they formed an alliance that failed about 3 weeks later. But that's where I first met with Malsey, who is the leader of Red Rum, and just said, look, let's do non-aggression. Let's deal with these people that we know we have problems with. And he agreed with that. And ever since then, you know, over many months, we've gone from constant sovereignty wars with each other to family. So, and I think that holding this community to a standard will do the same thing for the people who actually want to make it a better community.
100%, especially because this is the game where it has a lot more hope. The developers are a lot more involved, and again, we've kind of touched before on that pay-to-win style. We're hoping that this can be a different game, set a different standard, and that we can be kind of a community that really builds over a long time. I mean, I'm excited for when this game meets like a 10-year mark. Like, I would love to be able to have said I play a mobile game for over 10 years, the same one, and see how that's evolved and grown. CrazySwede, tell us what it is.
That is the Eve's second decade limited collector's edition box, still in its original plastic, that I've kept from opening for about 7 years now. Despite me really wanting that bloody Rifter USB port. Do I ever?
1 second, we have the Dark
We
Force
lost.
Kasoya attacking again. A person. 1 second. Oh my god, this is gonna take.
Did
1
we
second,
lose
guys.
Captain Benzie?
What?
Fish, you're back.
1 second. Yeah, I'll be right back. One person left.
Do you think she realized we're back live? Anyways.
Oh, shit.
So, yes, we are back live, correct.
It hit. It hit.
Well, Alright, give me a second. Let me figure this out. battling that dark force Kasoi yet again. And I think we just lost. Oh no, Lord Apollo is still in the middle of his warp. Okay, so back to it. In terms of, and Mama, can you kind of explain a little bit of what you were just talking about in terms of the Discord and the types of team that that you wanted to kind of foster in Eve Echoes?
Oh gosh, yeah. Let me see if I can remember. So yeah, no, we at Genesis, kind of our whole goal is to create a fun environment to play. And that if that means like when COVID hit, we started streaming movies on our Discord, so people who were trapped at home could still have the movie theater experience and do some mystery science theater trashing during movies, and we all had a blast with it. So it's carried through to now. Or if we're out mining, we can play tunes in the background and just create a kind of a fun environment to be in. And if people want to pop in, it's a mobile game. So people want to pop in and they can, blap for 2 hours and then go off and do whatever it is they need to do with their family. It makes a lot of work on leadership. So I spend more time. I have a big career, but I still spend more time doing leadership stuff than I do with almost anything else. But it creates a fun environment for people to play. And Genesis is family, and we care about each other inside the game and outside the game because we've created this environment to come play. And I think it's worth more than any one game, and it's worth more than any of the other heartache for putting that kind of environment together that can happen.
It definitely sets it apart in terms of Eve has always been considered real by the community, and I think what makes it real is the experiences that players have together, and then how you kind of learn from those, grow from those. I was kind of curious to see if any of our content creators have family that's going to be joining or playing, or if they have any really close friends that have not played any of these types of games that are going to try. Yeah?
Yes.
Doomsy, tell us first. Who is going to be joining us from the Doomsy family?
As if you don't know, you little turd.
What?
So Fish contacted me and she's like, "So I heard you have a wife. Does she play?" And I was like, I've been working on it. I've been trying to get her to play, but she's kind of like, she's not really big on space games. So naturally, my wife somehow ends up reaching out to Fish, and then Fish and her talk. And now my wife's going to play Eve Echoes.
You're doomed.
She's trying to steal her away. She's trying to bring her to her corp. It's not happening. She's going to be OP4S.
I swear, your wife seems like she'd love PvP. I'm just saying.
We're going to have all the PvP. It'll be there. And I also have a couple of buddies in my unit who are like, "Oh, hey, I saw you talking about this game. So I got a couple of them who watched me play the beta, and they watched me play EVE Online, and they're actually interested in maybe doing both, maybe doing just Echoes. I don't know. We'll see. But I probably have 50 or 60 people who are just like, give it a shot. So we'll see how it goes.
Eisenhorn is laughing. He says, "I'm trying to poach your wife for OBS." Well, I'm just saying, you got to find the team that fits you the best. But yeah, I'm definitely happy to talk to anyone's wives. I do think there will be a lot more female gamers. I know EVE Online is kind of known to not have as large of a female player base, but Mama, do you think we're going to see lots more women in Eve Echoes?
I do, and I have a family member, so I have an adult daughter, and she's like, "Mom, this seems like a cool game, but I don't like shooting people very much. I just kind of want to build things." And I was like, "I have a job for you." So so now I have bred my own industry girl, and so she's in there. They call her Buildosaurus Rex, but she's in and playing and stuff. I think we'll see a lot more of that because the community allows for a broad range of things for people to do. Not that any one type of person, like I'm happy blowing things up. Like please don't make me build anything. I want to blow stuff up. But it serves a larger group of players, and so I think we're going to get a larger variety of players from all kinds of different backgrounds.
100%. Actually, for me personally, I've always loved PvP, but I want to try Logi. I am like super excited to try Logi. Now, Captain Benzie, do you have a family member who might be joining us? You do?
Sort of. So for the past couple of weeks with the final test going, I've been recording videos literally like 5 a day, so that I would have content to keep us going till live. She has basically sat in silence and just let me get on with that and be the distant husband. So I think she's interested and may download it and give it a try. And if she does, well, she's already been there for all the tutorials, so...
Awesome. And CrazySwede, what about you?
So my family, they are not actually gamers at all, pretty much. The occasional card game with the family, tabletop thing style. But I do have a few friends that I've been working on. They've caught a few of my streams, and I'm hoping to lure them in here. But since I'm part of basically a large industrial corp on one side and an anti-piracy corp on the other, because I managed to become an officer in both, I need to find good roles for them. But since I'll be doing the PvP and they are action oriented, I'm hoping that I'll find a slot for them if they decide to take the plunge. And I'm going to try to make them.
Nice. So I guess maybe in one sentence, Swede, can you give me a very clear sentence on the content that you are aiming to create and who might be the best audience for you?
Oh wow, that's hard. So I will be live streaming basically the daily activities that I will be getting up to. Now, that will include a lot of fleet and gang operations for PvE and PvP, sorry, and possibly some PvE. I blow things up, and my bromance Eisenhorn, he builds stuff for me, so I have stuff to blow things up with. Now that's the kind of content that I will be making mostly, but you'll occasionally find me if I'm needed as security for a belt. You'll find me streaming mining stuff. It will depend. It's the daily life in Eve Echoes. That's what my content is going to be mainly about, with the occasional PvP highlight or tutorial video on YouTube.
And what about for OP4S?
Most of our content off the bat is probably going to be tutorials and guides, because we're building our website right now. Once that goes live, we're going to have our own wiki page, kind of like EVE University style stuff. And we're going to be building tutorials for new players, tutorials for experienced players, moving to Echoes from EVE Online. We'll be building guides for going down certain paths like mining, hauling, logi, DPS, interception. And then after we complete those and along the way, I'm sure we'll dabble some PvP and some mining and some general content and, general recruitment propaganda.
Always love the recruitment propaganda. It's some of my favorite. Benzie, what type of content? I mean, I've seen most of it, but is there any kind of other type of content from guides or tutorials you might be making, or what's your main focus for Echoes?
Oh boy.
So my main focus is going to continue to be tips, tricks, tutorials, and ship fitting guides. That said, I will of course showcase anything crazy that we get up to.
Oh, okay, very cool. So mostly tips, tricks, tutorial guides, and then kind of fun stories that your corp might experience. And Mama, what kind of content is your team or your group planning to create the most of?
I'm not sure we have a one most anything. I think we have a large enough group already. And I talked about this a little bit off camera, but we had a lot of folks that came back to us from Exodus SG days, and so Black Plague and those guys, and they've been posting a lot of really great videos and stuff already. And so I think we're going to see a full spectrum of content from us. At least I would hope so. So we will have our newspaper team's already putting together newspapers. Our video team's already creating videos. One thing that I would like to